Job security doesn't exist.
I've seen managers and mentors getting laid off after 5 to 10 years of high performance at the company.
Is no, we will not be having severance. We don't have the budget.
Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be checking out the lack of job security in today's market. We all know how difficult it is to actually get a decent paying job, but it doesn't really look like too many people are actually keeping those jobs. So we have a lot of stuff to go over. We have experience with workers. We're going to be talking about the tech jobs that are supposed to be the dream jobs to get and are supposed to make you massive amounts of money. We'll talk about entrepreneurship. We'll talk about the new rise of remote jobs and how unstable that has become in the past year or so. And we even got some clips talking about the CEOs of these massive corporations. So if you guys want to be featured in the next video, leave your comments down below, but we'll just get right into it with this clip.
Job security doesn't exist. Some people make decisions because they think it helps their job security. They say things like lie low, don't go against the grain, all because they're afraid of losing their job. Job security doesn't exist. Time and time again, the market has shown us that you can be fired at the drop of a hat. Even 7-year-old kids don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. And you're a grown-ass adult and you still believe in job security? Wake up.
So right off the bat, you should probably be likable as much as humanly possible at your day job, because going against the grain will probably get you booted out a lot faster than the market would. But I do understand what he's trying to say. A lot of people will pick specific careers just because they're supposed to have job security. You know, they could have good benefits, good health insurance, dental, 401k contributions. I mean, there's people who absolutely hate their jobs and don't get paid a good yearly salary, but they'll still stay because they have decent benefits. Now, from what a lot of our generation, at least my age, is seeing right now, is as soon as there's any downturn in the market or any issues with revenue, people just get chopped like that. I mean, the older generations above me did already see this in 2008. Now with everybody getting out of college and entering the job force, we were all kind of too young to really realize how bad it was back in the financial crisis, and we're starting to see it now. So it doesn't really matter if you're super likable and you don't cause any problems and you find a job that's supposed to be stable. If anything goes wrong, the first people to get axed are the normal everyday workers. And I think a very good example of this is in this clip.
Let me tell you a story about a family friend. He has worked at Foot Locker for 20 years. He has put a great portion of his life and time into that company, and he just got shit canned this week. Can you imagine working 20 years at a company and just getting, hey, we're letting you go, and you're in your 50s, it's too late to start over?
Now, I am hoping that if he was there for that long, at least he was the manager of Foot Locker, so he would have made a decent amount of money. But with that specific company, I have a little bit more knowledge because I used to be a full-time sneaker reseller. During COVID, when everybody was cooped up and everybody watched that Jordan documentary on Netflix, sneakers absolutely exploded. The value of all of these shoes and the demand went through the roof. And one of the biggest places you could get these kind of sneakers is the Foot Locker franchise, I guess you would call it, because Foot Locker, Foot Action, East Bay, and Champs are all basically the exact same store with a different logo on it. They had almost all of the exact same shoes and clothing, and because of the popularity, it expanded I mean, every mall that I went to, I mean, they had a Foot Locker, Foot Action, Champs, Finish Line, JD Sports, another just big sneaker store. They were all over the place. But if you have any knowledge of the sneaker market today, it has disappeared. It is almost non-existent now. The sneakers are going for less than retail on a lot of third-party markets now. There's just no more demand, and all of these stores are closing out because people aren't going in to buy shoes like they were before. Even where I used to live in New Jersey, the closest Foot Locker to me is gone now. That was closed down, and I mean, that's what happened to this person. Didn't matter that he worked there for 2 decades. As soon as these stores expanded too much and too quickly, and as soon as the demand retracts back to normal or even worse than it was, he gets canned. It doesn't matter about the loyalty. He's just gone. We have a comment from one of you guys from my previous video. My friend was just laid off after 17 years. They laid off over 45 at the end of last year. The recent batch was over 30. They keep buying other companies only to lay off tenured workers. The company was purchased by a private equity company, enough said. So you have no control over what happens to the company you work for. If it gets bought out by a larger corporation, job security does not exist for you anymore, because there could be somebody that the larger corporation wants to work your position and then you're just gone after 17 years. And for both of these examples, 17 years, 20 years, how are you supposed to restart and get a new career after putting in the amount of time and just getting booted? Basically, without saying it, companies don't want to hire older workers. They want to hire at least somewhat younger people and put them on a lower pay grade instead of somebody who's been working in the field for 20 years. You're going to get way less callbacks than even my generation, who's already been having trouble trying to find jobs for years now. So what are the odds for you to be able to restart when you're 40, 50 years old? You even have people talking about the dream jobs, working at places like Google where you could go and play ping pong at work. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of the super big tech, Apple, Facebook, maybe not so much Twitter anymore, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But maybe it's not a fairy tale after all.
I work at Google, which is considered to be a dream company by many. But in the last 2 years, I've seen managers and mentors getting laid off after 5 to 10 years of high performance at the company. And what happened is that the corporation needed to prioritize its bottom line over their personal goals. And no matter where you work, this is always going to happen. So as employees, the only way to give ourselves true job security is to have such an in-demand skill that you can work for any employer you choose.
So a lot of these big tech companies grew very, very quickly over the course of COVID because everybody was sitting at home, everybody was watching stuff on Netflix, and then everybody else had streaming services, and everybody was sitting on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. So all of these networks got way more traffic than they ever had. So they just start hiring more and more workers. But now that the mandates are up and people went back to work, a lot of that traffic went back to what it was years ago. And that turns into everybody who got their dream job at Google or at Meta, making a ton of money at their dream tech job, just got canned. And it doesn't matter that they had 5 to 10 years of experience, like he said. They need to get to their bottom line, and you are the first ones to go. You even have people who are very smart in the tech world kind of getting screwed recently. We have a story from Reddit. Anyone else feel like there's no job security in this field? My focus is on the DB end of things, and I've twice now automated myself out of a job. Now he basically goes over that as soon as they get hired, he's got massive backlogs and he has to do a ton of tasks for these companies. And he's a programmer and likes building tools to handle it. So he ended up making tools and scripts to take care of these tasks so he didn't have to do any of this tedious work. And as soon as these tech companies found out, he got fired from it. I don't know how they found out. If anything, I probably would have kept that to myself if I was smart enough to be able to automate my own job. But either way, he's not rewarded for being smarter at work. He actually got punished for it. It would have been better to be a worse worker and just plug away day after day, doing the same monotonous, tedious work you could actually make a program do, which is a lot of the AI stuff, which we'll see most likely in the future. But that is a topic in and of itself. And now we have all these tech companies just cutting tons of people. The most recent one is Intel with 15,000 workers. We have Macari, which is an online selling platform that I've used before. Nearly half of its employees in the US are completely gone now. So they definitely are not doing good. The company Intuit, which I'm pretty sure is TurboTax, cut 10% of its workforce. UKG cutting 14%, 2,200 employees. You have Paramount firing 2,000 people because Paramount Plus is terrible. Like I talked about earlier, almost half of Twitter is completely gone now. And overall, there's been more than 250,000 tech layoffs in 2023 and 125,000 so far in 2024. And I know we're just specifically talking about tech right now, but it's all across the board. Stellantis, which is the umbrella company for Jeep and Ram, and I'm pretty sure Chrysler as well, just laid off almost 2,500 people at one of their plants and are removing one of their Ram classic pickup trucks. It's getting so bad that Stellantis is offering buyouts for its salaried employees. Automaker Stellantis plans once again to reduce its U.S. employee headcount through a broad voluntary buyout. as company attempts to reduce costs and boost profits. The company, which reported disappointing first half results last week, said that if not enough employees participate in the buyout, involuntary terminations could follow. So if you don't take this buyout, you're just going to get fired. So I guess everybody who gets offered the buyout should just take it, because if you say no, they're just going to fire you anyway. I could go on and on with all of these companies having issues right now, but one of the big counterpoints to a lot of these tech jobs and either corporate 9-to-5 stuff is the trades, which I've talked about in videos before. It definitely is a good job. It seems to be almost unlimited work, but it is actual work. You're not going to be sitting on your ass, playing on your phone a couple hours a day and clocking in, clocking out. It is real work. So for some people, including myself, who has a very bad back, very bad joints, ankles, knees, you name it, me doing a lot of physical labor for hours on end, or even just like laying down on tile floor fixing a sink would put me out of commission for a while, because I just turned 27, but my body is basically 67. So at least for me, it's not the best, but we have a comment here. It's the same with the trades work. I see posts all the time where they want a card-carrying journeyman electrician, but must have a journeyman millwright and welding skills, PLC programming, robotics programming, etc. And of course, it always starts at competitive pay at $25. So everybody's going to lowball you, even if you have a skill that's increasingly uncommon in today's world. So even if you get in the trades, which is probably one of the most secure jobs you could have right now, I mean, there will still be people trying to take advantage of you for any kind of work you do. So a lot of people are turning to work for themselves, which is what I do and what I've done for several years now. I'd much rather do anything online or just figure out different ways to make money instead of a normal 9-to-5, and I think this clip explains it pretty well.
People will say it's riskier to go down the route of entrepreneurship and making money online than it is to be in a stable job. You could be in that job for years on end and get absolutely nowhere. In the same way that you could start a business and you could fall flat in your arse. But the difference is, when you fall flat on your arse in that business, you'll learn in a way that will help you come back and improve your chances of that business succeeding. Whereas in employment, yeah, you might move on to a slightly better paid job, but realistically, is the gain going to be that significant compared to entrepreneurship? No. And especially if you're the kind of person that wants to take ownership over your work and have control over your money in a different way, entrepreneurship is a better route to take. And when I say entrepreneurship, I don't mean being the next Richard Branson. It could be as little as starting a side hustle where you're progressively earning a few £1,000s a year, and then it moves on to your full-time income. And you need to recognize where you're at now in that journey, and the first step is learning how to make your first few dollars online, and then it goes up from there.
So I think him talking about the failures is a very solid piece of advice. Now, luckily for me, I haven't had catastrophic failures in any of my, I guess you would say, business ventures, but just working for myself is what I'm trying to say, where I lost all of my money and I went into debt and I was like completely screwed just from the same thing, sneaker investing. I've made several mistakes where I had bad investments, or I just spent way too much money on a specific product, and I wasted a lot of time, effort, and money throughout my sneaker selling career. And again, I'm glad that it didn't completely bankrupt me, but if I just had issues at my old retail job at like Modell's sporting goods store, if I got canned, I wouldn't have learned anything other than to just find another job. We have another comment from one of you guys. First, they outsource American manufacturing jobs overseas, and now Hollywood is leaving LA to be outsourced to Europe, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. Now, the second half of that, I don't really have enough knowledge. I don't pay attention to Hollywood or really, honestly, anything about movies or TV shows going out anymore. I primarily just sit on YouTube if I'm going to have any sort of entertainment, but the first half of it with outsourcing manufacturing jobs, it's not just that. You have any sort of customer support from big companies. You try to contact them and the person is just not American. We could also possibly see some tedious work being outsourced to artificial intelligence over the next several years, which will cut out even more people's jobs here. It's just seems to only be getting worse. And at the same time, the CEOs of these companies are out of their minds. We have a series series of clips here. Some of them are just comedic, but do have a bit of truth in them. And then we have one that is straight up a CEO just absolutely out of her mind. So
we're good with this $40 million raise? Yes, bro, of course I got you, King. And all we gotta do is hit these outrageous numbers. Exactly, you just hire a bunch of salespeople. You got it, my man. And so, like, what if hypothetically or whatever, like, doesn't work out? Dude, what do you think? I just fire most of them? Exactly. Who cares, bro?
So even though it is just a little comedy skit, that's what a lot of tech jobs did during the pandemic. Everybody got a free remote job because they had so much influx of people using their softwares, their websites, because everybody was just cooped up at home on their computers and phones all day. So a ton of people got hired really quickly and made a lot of money because that's how much was coming in for these big companies. And as soon as the demand dies down, everybody just gets canned. When I finished my degree and training, some of the jobs were offering 15 to 25 an hour, while the average pay to start was 33 to 35. The job requires a master's degree and a license to practice, as it's a healthcare position and license. These companies are losing their minds. So now, because everything is scaling back from the peaks of COVID, you have people with literal master's degrees getting lowballed to almost half of what the average starting pay would be. It's just strong arming workers, because what option do you have? Do you take a position with decently less pay than what you're supposed to, or not have a job at all? You could just see how bad it's gotten by this clip from this CEO.
How can we stay motivated if we're not going to get a bonus? What can we do? What can we do? Some of them were nice and some of them were not so nice. Don't ask about what are we going to do if you don't get a bonus. Get the damn $26 million. Spend your time and your effort thinking about the $26 million we need and not thinking about what you're going to do if we don't get a bonus. All right? Can I get some commitment for that? I would appreciate that. I had an old boss who said to me one time, you can visit Pity City, but you can't live there. So people, leave Pity City. Let's get it done. Thank you. Have a great day.
Now, this same CEO that was telling people to not worry about getting bonuses and just to keep pushing and keep working hard, even though people are likely dependent on their bonuses, this CEO got nearly $4 million in bonuses in 2022. So like I said, it's not that they can't afford it, it's that they're choosing to allocate it elsewhere.
That right there is why I cannot work for somebody else or a big corporation or a big retail job. I wouldn't be able to hold my tongue. I would snap on that CEO yelling at all of these workers who basically are not going to get a bonus from the way she was talking right there, and still had to make the company another $26 million, while at the same time she got a $4 million raise in 2022. And just that alone, if you got $4 million right off the bat, if you knew how to invest correctly, you could live off of that forever. You wouldn't be living a super lavish life, but that would be the end game right there. And she got that in 1 year of a bonus, not even her actual salary. And she's got the nerve to yell at people who are worried about getting their bonuses to survive. Now we're switching over to remote work, which has become increasingly unstable. Everybody was promised a remote job during COVID. You know, we're never going to go back to the office. You just need a laptop and our software, and you could sit at home and do whatever you need to do in the office at home. And it seemed like a good deal. But as soon as the mask mandates disappeared, then, maybe come back in the office 1 day a week or a couple days a week or 3 days a week. And now it's just almost back to normal for a lot of people. And now for any of the people who do still have legitimately full-time remote jobs, it has not been as stable as they once thought. People are getting calls on Zoom and just getting laid off out of the blue. We have another one of the funny CEO skits that definitely do happen now.
Good afternoon. If you're on this call, you have officially been terminated, okay? And the bottom line is that revenue and profits are not where they need to be, okay? This company is bleeding. I am bleeding, and leadership can no longer continue to carry everyone, which is why we've made the decision to have serious cutbacks and lay off 25% of the company. So again, that includes everyone on this call, and the answer, before you ask, is no. We will not be having severance. We don't have the budget, okay? You'll be hearing from HR For specifics, best of luck.
And just like that, after 30 seconds of a Zoom call or a couple minutes of a mass phone call from a higher up, you just get canned. We have another story from Reddit. I'm a 50-year-old who has been working in digital marketing for the past 10 plus years. I've always had pretty stable employment. About 5 years ago, I started working remotely. In the 20 years of working on site prior to that, average job time was 5 to 7 years. Since shifting to remote, it's been 7 to 12 months. The company I work for has either laid me off due to a shift in focus or their completely unrealistic work expectations. So a lot of these remote people have just become contractors for these companies that don't have any stable job anymore. They'll just have heavy 6 months or 12 months of a lot of work that this company needs, and then they'll just lay them all off. It's a lot easier when nobody actually walks into the building. You're just a name on a screen that pops up and look, oh, he's working on the laptop doing what he needs to do. And then as soon as the job's over, or they don't like him, you're just boop, fired. And if you don't think this happens, there is an entire trend on TikTok of people recording their Zoom calls that they got laid off during.
Hi, Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabrielle.
Hi. Gabrielle, thanks for taking time to meet with us today. Can you hear me? As the company's priorities this year is to execute against the larger, that means our division needs to prioritize the areas of business that have the most potential for growth, while also taking the difficult but necessary measures to reduce cost and streamline operations. We've been asked to examine our department and take a closer look at our resources to ensure we're operating as efficiently as possible. Unfortunately, this has resulted in your role being impacted, and as of today, you will be relieved of your job responsibilities. Please know that this was a difficult decision, and we thought a lot about how our teams need to be reorganized, reimagined to best support our strategy and the business as a whole. I know this news is hard to hear and that you may have questions, but I want to thank you for your contributions to the team regarding the details of your exit.
I'm smiling through a lot of that because you could hear that he is just running off of a script that was emailed to him. He does not care at all. This is exactly what's said to everybody who gets canned in their rounds of layoffs. And you know how easy it is to just go on Zoom and do that? You don't even have to go face to face with somebody. And I mean, her situation was even worse than most, getting laid off 3 months after relocating for her job. So I guess this means it wasn't 100% remote if you still had to be relocated, but if she's on Zoom right now getting fired, it was some sort of a remote job, or she would actually gotten fired in person, hopefully, if they had the balls. But this is what it's come to now. It doesn't really seem like anybody has job security. It doesn't really seem to be getting better at all. And I really just don't know what to say. But we're going to end off on something that I thought was really funny when I was researching, clips and stories for this video. I ended up coming across this Reddit post, which we're not going to be talking about the actual Reddit post. I'm going to be talking about the ad that I got under it, because I was looking at job security type postings, and right under it was an ad for Crowdstrike. 86% of hands-on keyboard attacks were executed by e-crime actors in the very odd way of saying that one, but in the last 12 months. Learn more trends and how to outpace modern adversaries, blah, blah, blah. Crowdstrike 2024. And I thought that was pretty funny because recently in the news, Crowdstrike's outage completely screwed over tons of companies. Just Delta alone cost $500 million. So they had an ad over one of these cybersecurity positions, on Reddit that, use our program or be a part of our team to help against e-crime actors. It's their words, not mine. And then they cost companies, billions of dollars. They were out for a couple days. There were tons of computers out because of their program. So I just thought that that was pretty ironic. Let me know what you guys think about any of these clips down below if you have any experiences like these, but YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.